3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome into the postgame show. No matter when that bump plays, I let it run a little bit longer. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips.
That's a bop. That's the kids would say.
Big fan. Big fan.
Real banger.
Yeah, big fan. We got a lot to get to on today's program. Yesterday we had in the middle of the 3 o'clock hour, I guess all of the 3 o'clock hour basically, we had Shane Beamer's signing day press conference. It included some thoughts on the Clemson game, on the college football playoff, on Gamecock signees. And today, and I guess Terry says, I must have missed one of them, but I guess Terry says they've now let us know officially that, yes, they'll be introducing the new South Carolina athletics director today. I don't feel badly for anybody per se, y'all, but this is a really big announcement. This is the athletics director at a Southeastern Conference school, and it just because of all of the news that has come down this week, and timing is everything, right? It just feels like it's like, oh, by the way, they're going to hire a new AD this week. If every report out there is accurate, and I believe it to be, then the new athletics director's name is Jeremiah Donati. He's in his 40s. He's been at TCU for 13 years, 7 of them-ish, as the athletics director. Got a heck of a track record. Made some good hires. Elijah and I mentioned this around here, that whomever may be hired to become the new AD at South Carolina shouldn't have a lot to worry about when it comes to his or her coaching roster.
They're in pretty good shape.
They have good coaches across the board right now, and that will allow the athletics director to fundraise. And we talk about recruiting as like in college football. Again, 10 things are important, 7 of them are recruiting. Well, I'll take the same principle with an athletics director. 10 things are important, and 7 of them are fundraising. You know?
This is like hiring a coach that's a good recruiter, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, you need to influence people to want to be a part of what you do. And in this case, it will be to spend a lot of money. But I will say this, Mr. Donati has experience prior to his time in Fort Worth with Lee Steinberg's agency. Lee Steinberg, really one of the great names in professional sports agency. You know, you got Scott Boras now, and you got Jimmy Sexton now, and there are others. Who was, who's the one I'm thinking of down in Florida that was T.O.'s guy? Next question. Oh,
Drew Rosenhaus.
Guys like that. But Lee Steinberg was sort of ahead of the curve in becoming like the super agent. And so my point being, with experience in a firm like that, and he's an attorney, is Jeremiah Donati. That'll be good for working new deals with name, image, likeness, and all the related things that will come with it. So by all accounts, this is a great hire if it's Jeremiah Donati. Now, I don't know if Dr. Michael Amarides will get up in front of the assembled masses at the Zone in about a half hour, and suddenly there's somebody else. I don't know.
It's Andy Dick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think it's Kevin Costner. I think it's Harrison Ford. Oh, my God, it's Andy Dick.
Pauly Shore.
The
South Carolina athletics director, Pauly Shore.
If you don't know what we're referencing, there was a few years ago, the Dan Patrick guys had a great bit ragging on the Masked Singer and how, like, the panel has, nothing but, like, not just A-list people that they try to guess, but, like, A++ list.
Oh, apparently there was an NFL player for this season that was revealed on the Masked Singer, and I got those app push notifications for it, and I had no idea who the hell it was. Never heard that name in my life. Like a backup defensive lineman for the Rams. And I guarantee you they're giving football hints, and they're like, oh, this could be Joe Montana.
Right.
This
it's
could
Patrick
be
Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's Tom Brady. Oh, it's the second-team punter.
Oh, it's Jim Bob Cooter.
Right. At least if that was be a great name, man. I remember Jim Bob. Is he still in Detroit? Where is he?
He was the OC in Detroit. I don't know where the hell he is now.
He's coaching somewhere. I've seen his name. He's coaching somewhere. But anyway, so there's that. Now, but we'll have that for you coming up in just a little bit. Drive around the SEC, obviously. Final results of the SEC ACC Challenge. 14 wins for the Southeastern Conference to just 2 defeats. Clemson beat Kentucky 2 nights ago, Tuesday night late up at Little John. And last night late, Duke won at home up in Cameron over Auburn. That's it. I watched a good portion of the North Carolina-Alabama game last night. And let me tell y'all something. And it was in Chapel Hill. Alabama was in firm control all night.
Yeah, that was never in doubt.
I mean, at times, I told you, Elijah, well, you watched some of it too. Chapel Hill made a little run in the middle of the second half and cut it to single digits, which tells you something. I think they cut it to 9, maybe 8. And then Alabama said, all right, that's fine.
But even then, didn't really feel like they were threatened.
No. So what does this mean for the SEC? The ACC is in trouble. This is not one game for each school against whomever. I'm not going to sit here and say, full-blown panic mode. But this is a trend that's been happening for a while. We'll see what Coach Shire does with Duke. I like what Hubert's done in Chapel Hill. Miami's had their runs of late. Can Georgia Tech get good again with Damon Stoudemire? I don't know. UVA with Tony Bennett quitting right before the season started, they're going to have a year of flux. I love Mike Young and what he's capable of doing at Virginia Tech, but they lost a key player to a scandal, not that happened in Blacksburg, but happened at his previous stop. And I could go on and on and on, but it's just like Louisville. What has happened to Louisville? How have you gotten so bad?
Kenny Payne happened to Louisville.
Yeah, and just things like that. But across the board, man, just not good. And I can't tell you enough about Cal or Stanford or SMU basketball to be any kind of expert on that. But
not good. I'll tell you that. Let me sum it up for you. Let me give you the Spark Notes version.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we'll see how things turn out. But it does seem that there's a real trend downward the last couple of seasons, across the board at least. And I know that Virginia won a title a few years ago. Duke has been very good. North Carolina made a Final Four, as they do every few years, because that's what they do at that university. But have you felt like, man, they're strong? I don't know that there is a team in – I don't know. Again, Duke won last night. Duke might be the exception.
Duke might be the best team in the country. That's also they're going to be carrying a lot of weight for that conference.
But again, 14-2 overall for the SEC. Speaking of that challenge, it goes now to the women's side of things, and tonight South Carolina will host Duke. That's a 9:00 tip.
It is. It's a late one.
Yeah, that should be a good game. Duke's top 10. That's a top 10 matchup again.
It is.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a pretty big game.
Yeah.
Good test.
As South Carolina creeps their way back towards number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
Will South Carolina be the number 1 team in the country before the calendar turns to 2025?
No.
No?
Because I don't see UCLA losing.
Okay.
I don't see them losing until they get into conference play.
Okay.
Which the Big Ten does play conference play early. I think they'll probably get their first conference loss probably mid-January.
Yeah. Who did my Terps beat the other night? They won their conference game. I can't remember who it was.
Coach Brenda Freeze.
Ohio State, maybe? No, men's basketball.
Yeah, men's basketball, the Terps
beat the Buckeyes,
beat the hell out of the Buckeyes. Yeah, it was like 83-59.
I say my Terps. It's my daughter's Terps. But again, when you're a tuition-paying parent, you become at least a marginal fan of the school.
You are a stakeholder.
Yeah. Don't have a choice. A lot of y'all out there know that. Again, we'll have an AD announcement coming up in just a little bit. There's still a lot of questions and comments and hair pulling and hand wringing and other things around the college football playoff announcement that happened on Tuesday night. I think now our attention needs to turn towards what happens next. And by that, I don't mean this weekend and what happens with results, but how Greg Sankey has talked a lot over the last couple of years, really, Elijah, about wanting to look at how this year's process unfolded before the Southeastern Conference sort of made its next moves or lobbied for certain changes or whatever else. We know he's been talking a lot with Tony Petitti about some of these things. Elijah has some interesting points that I think need to be heard and addressed as it relates not only to what happened this week with the rankings, but also how that could, in the future, affect things. And I want to, so we'll do that for you coming up here in just a couple of minutes because I want y'all to hear that. And I've got an interesting question on Twitter. Let me get to this. Hang on one second here. Where was it, Elijah? Because I know I read it to you a little bit earlier.
You got there somewhere.
I do. Hang on.
You didn't put it in the good questions on Twitter folder?
For some reason, my Twitter over here doesn't want to cooperate with me. John hit us. Not our regular guy, John, but hey, this guy sounds like a really nice guy. He says, Jay, since a 10-2 team can get into the college football playoff, does it make any sense to rest starters strategically in a game that otherwise gets out of hand and dismiss as being a bad day at the office? Now, I told Elijah, I think I know where he's taking this. I would say that this is he doesn't have any specific school when he says 10-2 or any specific opponent for said school or anything like that. My gut tells me he'd be referencing a game along the lines of Carolina losing badly to Mississippi or an Alabama losing badly to Oklahoma. Like, you know what? To heck with it. And I don't know if I have a great answer. So I want you all to kind of chew on that. And because we've seen the NFL teams do this from time to time, but the NFL is different. If you know at a certain point, like for instance, I didn't even realize this till Elijah and I were looking at it yesterday off air. The Bills have already clinched the AFC East.
They did it in November.
There's 5 games left.
They clinched a division in November. Before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the Chiefs have clinched a playoff spot, but they haven't clinched the West yet. They will.
Chargers and Broncos are still hanging around.
That's right, baby.
Yeah.
Last game of the regular season is Chiefs at Broncos.
Could be important.
I hope it's really important. I just hope it's not like
crucial
must win for Denver to make the playoffs.
I don't know if your poor heart can take it.
It's not. That's my fear. It's been a long time since the Denver Broncos made the playoffs, man. Again, last time they made it, great run.
I wasn't old enough to drink yet.
Right at it, right?
I turned 21 a month later, yeah.
Okay.
But that's beside the point.
All right.
Beside the point.
Yeah. So we'll see. All right. So we'll get in. But again, Elijah's got an interesting point to make on what we've seen around the college football playoff rankings. We'll do that for you. We will also have a look back at yesterday's signing day rankings, things like that. And again, coming up, we think in about 20 minutes, the beginning of a press conference to introduce the new South Carolina athletics director. So a little bit of a fluid Thursday postgame show. Welcome back into the Postgame show here on this Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips and Elijah Campbell with you. A little bit of an altered schedule today. Again, we're keeping an eye down at the stadium right now. The Carolina Board of Trustees is meeting in the Gridiron Club. And when they're done, we expect that their meeting today is to approve the new athletics director's contract. And then when they're done, Dr. Amarides will take to the podium in the zone and introduce the new athletics director. And that is coming shortly. We were told that the press conference will begin around 3:30. Or
estimate.
As I like to say, and I got it from my mom. A lot of people say ish. So 3:30-ish.
The word around can do some heavy lifting.
It can. It's a big
in these
word.
type of circumstances.
Big word. 2-syllable words always do a little bit more for you. So in the meantime, we're going to talk a little college football playoff. Again, a lot of Gamecock fans still upset. I get it. We've talked about why we think Carolina didn't make it. And I said yesterday, really, when it all came down to whatever discussions, again, a term Shane doesn't want to hear, data points. That was the Ward Manual buzz term of the week. I think they copped out and just basically said, well, okay, we can look at all the good things South Carolina did, and there's a lot of good things that y'all did there. But you didn't beat Mississippi and you didn't beat Alabama, and that's easy enough for us to just exclude you. Again, right?
Ward Manual. If I hear the word data point one more time in my life, I may throw up.
Thank you, Shane. Again, I think they copped out. Yeah. I knew that was – I really did. I mean, if you had said, are you 99.9% positive that what's going to basically be done is they're just going to say they lost the head-to-heads and keep them out, I'd have been like, yep. I'd have bet the farm on that one.
Oh, yeah. And look, that's to me, that is a reality that is easier to accept. Because you know what? I think, especially this fan base, would not accept if South Carolina beat Alabama. They had the same record, and Alabama got in just because.
Right.
Of whatever reason, right?
And I know a lot of you think, like, what if it had been something like that?
I would be ill.
Yeah.
I would be physically ill at the snubbing if Alabama got in over South Carolina and Carolina beat them on the field. That would be, I could not get over that. No matter how the teams looked at the end of the season. If South Carolina beat them, still we're 9-3, and it was down between Carolina and Alabama, and they still let Alabama in, the discussion of conspiracy, of letting the brand in, would be so high and also justified.
Because it just goes up exponentially.
Yes. You think we're having that discussion? Now we are having it at length, if that were the case.
That being said, a lot of why Carolina and Mississippi fans, and to a large degree, why Alabama fans are defending their spot right now. And again, they're not in the playoff yet. They're just in position to be if things go the way we believe they will this weekend. So we do need to make that abundantly clear. But a lot of people are concerned, questioning whatever the application of strength of schedule. And Elijah and I had a long talk this morning, and I'm not saying he changed my mind because I'd already kind of done this, but the way he articulated it, I said, I want you to do that again because I think we're not here to change minds or pat anybody on the head. You should still be disappointed. I got zero issue with disappointment in this. But I think this may help explain, if not defend the committee, then at least give a greater sense of understanding from their perspective.
Yeah, I do in a way kind of want to look at an angle or maybe like challenge the idea of strength of scheduling not mattering, right? I went through and looked at the teams in the college football playoff that South Carolina is ahead of who has a same record or a better record than South Carolina. And I'll name these teams right now. Arizona State, Iowa State, Clemson, BYU, Missouri, UNLV, Illinois, Syracuse, Colorado, Army, Memphis. All those teams have either the same record as you or better.
Right.
One of these teams will play each other out with Arizona State and Iowa State. Right. Will the loser have any chance of getting into the college football playoff, Jay Phillips?
No.
That's a 10-win team that will not be playing in the college football playoff.
Right.
If Clemson at 9-3 loses to SMU, do they have any shot at making the college football playoff?
Nope.
BYU at 10-2, do they have any chance? They beat SMU. They have a win against the number 8 team on the road.
Yeah, in Dallas.
In Dallas. Do they have any shot at making the college football playoff?
They do not.
Missouri's in the same conference as you. They are 9-3.
Yep.
Do they have any chance of making the college football playoff as even a discussion point?
Nope. They have not even been discussed.
No, not even been discussed. And also, I'll rephrase the question to the previous teams I mentioned. Have they even been discussed as being college football playoff teams?
Yeah. I would think BYU and Army probably got some level of discussion, and there might still be some trace of it around Army should they win.
Should they win? Because then they're 11-1.
And they're a conference champion.
And they can beat Navy and then be 12-1.
Right.
Then they're a conference champion, especially if Boise State loses. And
the difference is Army still has a game to play.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the thing
after the championship game.
I will even one-up you here. A team ranked ahead of you with a better record, that's Boise State. They're 11-1.
Yeah.
If they lose their conference championship game to UNLV, do you think they have any chance of being in the college football playoff?
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either.
If somebody in there gets a wild hair and wants to put Ashton Jeanty in because he's going to be in New York City in a couple of weeks, then
that may change something, but not very likely. You might even see their percentage to get into the college football playoff dip below South Carolina's.
Right.
But all these teams have the same or better record.
Right.
What that tells me is that your strength of schedule is being heavily considered for you to even be in the discussion at all. And if you have one thing change on your schedule in terms of results, you're in. Mm-hmm. You are in the discussion, period, because of how tough your schedule is. So I don't necessarily love the idea of saying, oh, well, they shouldn't schedule anybody out of conference. Or I've seen takes online of, do away with the Clemson game because it does you no good. Well, no, beating Clemson's the reason that you still have the resume you do and the schedule you do. The only thing keeping you away is that you lost to Ole Miss and Alabama, the two teams that you're also grouped with. And in the SEC, you have three loss teams that have legitimate chances at making the college football playoff going into the final week of the season. 3 of them with 3 losses. No other conference in America can say that. Right. And it's because the SEC is as hard as it is, and they all have elite schedules. So I would challenge the idea that it's not that your strength of schedule is just being completely dismissed. I would actually say it's the reason you're in, right? Because there are other teams that are 9-3 in college football with legitimate wins, right? Like, let's take Syracuse, for example. 9-3. They have a win against number 12 Miami just this past week. Yep. It's a really good Syracuse team. Yep. But why are they not considered in the college football playoff? Their strength of schedule. Right. And when it goes back to the idea, too, of maybe just not scheduling tough teams out of conference, I would like you to use Ole Miss as a case study. Who'd they play out of conference? Furman.
Yeah.
My beloved Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee State.
Right.
Who, mind you, finished like 3-9 this year, maybe 4-8. They might have squeezed an extra win in there. They played Wake Forest.
I say Wake was their power conference game.
Yeah, and Wake was terrible.
Yeah,
Georgia Southern.
Right.
Those were your 4 out of conference games. Do you think any of those 4 games prepared them for the SEC?
No.
I would say no. And I would say that's the reason you lost to Kentucky.
That's a fair point, man.
Is you didn't prepare yourself for this. And I think any college football coach, one of the reasons that they schedule hard games out of conference isn't just to make this beauty pageant that you're going to be entering at the end of the season more comparable to you if you win it, but it's for the opportunity to make your team better in November, in October, in the late months that matter the most when you're competing for conference titles. So I understand the angle that some people are taking because they look at Indiana, right? I guarantee you if Indiana wasn't winning their Power 4 games by an average of 30 points a game, they would not be considered.
Right.
That's the whole point. And if Indiana lost any of those games, any of them, they would not be in contention.
And again, they weren't just winning. They were beating people badly.
Let's say, for instance, they lost the Nebraska game, and then they go on to win the other games like they do, and then lose to Ohio State. They'd be a 10-2 Big Ten team, which would have 0 chance at making the college football playoff.
They'd probably be behind Carolina and Ole Miss.
Winning is hard, and that's one thing I would like for South Carolina to get the benefit of the doubt if this ever came to be and they didn't have a strong out-of-conference slate, that winning is hard. And you heard Shane after the Old Dominion game. We're celebrating that locker room because winning is hard.
Yeah.
And they barely beat an Old Dominion team who turned out not to be very good. So that's kind of where I struggle to completely accept that strength of schedule is what
is being discounted. I agree. I think you make that's a great point, man. The way you worded it, you're right. It is being, and it's hard because of how close.
Yeah. And that's what hurts. And it should hurt.
Yeah, it should hurt.
It absolutely should hurt.
Yeah, the hurt is good.
Yeah.
The hurt is the care. And, I think over time, some of this fades, but know how close you were. Does that mean that's how close you are? I think that's something else to think about moving in to the next season. Speaking of the next season, it'll be under the leadership of a new athletics director. We'll take a time out, and we should be ready to have an announcement on who that person is. You're listening to the Postgame Show. We are awaiting official announcement from Williams-Brice Stadium on the hiring of a brand new athletics director at University of South Carolina. Welcome back in. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. While we're doing that, I tell you what, right now, before all of you start listening, right now, we just were told during the commercial break, we have a pair of tickets for tonight's Carolina-Duke women's basketball game. Top 10 matchup, ACC-SEC Challenge. You want to go? Caller 5, 803-404-6100. 803-404-6100. And Elijah will hook you up with a pair of tickets. They're his seats. I'm just kidding. They're not.
Nope.
But there's still seats that are going to be there. So
That we can give away.
yeah. So if you want to go, caller 5 to do it right now, because we'll be breaking away. Not that he can't answer the phone while something else happens, but we do not yet have the official announcement beginning down at the Zone. There was a board meeting. We're told it was basically one of those formalities, but they have to do it, right? Like yesterday afternoon, they announced that there would be, they had to give 24 hours notice since it's a public school. You have to give 24 hours notice when there's going to be a board meeting for any major decision, and so they did that. They held that board meeting at the Gridiron Club down at Williams-Brice, and then they're going to move over to the Zone for the announcement. So it will be coming shortly. All right, that's the best we can tell. They told us in a release it'll be happening around 3:30 today. So that's the best I can tell you at this point. By the way, congratulations while we're waiting on the new athletics director announcement. Congratulations to Coach Shane Beamer. He today was named the USA Today Southeastern Conference Coach of the Year. That's a big deal. Congratulations to Shane. Well earned. And, there are a lot of folks pushing him not just for Conference Coach of the Year, but National Coach of the Year. I think Rhett Lashley will be in that discussion from SMU. Jeff Tedford at Army, I think, should be in that discussion. There are certainly others, but Shane's done a heck of a job, man. There's no question about it. But he is the Coach of the Year, again, as selected by USA Today. Kyle Kennard and Nick Eminwari were named All SEC by USA Today as well. Again, national awards coming. There are others that do the all-conference stuff, coaches' votes, and all those kind of things too. So we'll see. At this point, like Kennard has to go. He's done with eligibility. Nick has a year left if he wants to use it. But I think, Elijah, you told me in the latest Mel Kiper, not mock draft, but in the latest Mel Kiper rankings, which are different. His
position rankings.
Yeah, position rankings are different than his mock draft, because draft is often about need for a team relative to how good a player is. But he's the number 2 safety in America.
And has been consistently for the last few weeks.
Yeah. Again, there's a conversation to be had, perhaps, with a guy like Nick Eminwari or a guy like T.J. Sanders in the middle of the defensive line in terms of coming back with what you can do in today's world. But at the same time, if you have an opportunity, and they can still do the submission to the like the draft advisory panel, whatever they call it, right?
Oh, yeah. The group that pretty much projects where you're going to get drafted. And they're pretty accurate for the most part. I mean, I think out of all the guys that entered into it last year, only like 7 total weren't drafted where they thought they would be.
I would think.
And it was a big number, too. We're talking about
Nick,
150 some odd players.
If Nick isn't a day 1 guy, a first-round guy, you would certainly think he's a day 2 guy. And you can still make a lot of money being a second or third round pick.
Just got to get to that second contract, baby.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Langston always tells us, right? So I'll be curious. Same thing with TJ. Don't know. And there's others, obviously. But, and again, some of those conversations will be had with the new athletics director, right?
Definitely.
In terms of what the leadership will want to look at. So we'll see how that one turns out. 803-404-6100. Who are we congratulating?
We are congratulating Jamie. Jamie called in, and Jamie is our winner. Jamie gets to go to see a top 10 matchup tonight.
Ready to go,
CLA.
Yeah, should be a good one.
Fate is in your favor.
Did you see that Jackson Arnold of Oklahoma has put his name into the transfer portal?
I don't know how that slipped last night or yesterday. I guess it might have broke like yesterday, and we just missed it.
I saw it this morning on the Andy Staples show. And I was like, wait, what?
Wait, what? Yeah. I mean, that he was going to be the starting quarterback for Oklahoma again and has decided to hop in the transfer portal. So that makes, now 2 SEC quarterbacks in the portal between him and Connor Wegman? I don't know if I'm missing anybody.
Let's see. That's right.
And there is a mass exodus from the University of Kentucky right now. Their 2 best wide receivers, Dane Key and Berrien Brown, 2 really good football players, are in the portal.
The new OC at Oklahoma is Ben Arbuckle, coming from Washington State. Now, I couldn't tell you. Now, Cam Ward was there a couple of years ago. I don't know if they've got a star quarterback now that might be.
They have a good one. He's not a star.
Yeah.
I think he's good. He's put up really good passing numbers.
Would they want to bring him to Norman?
I don't know.
Comfort levels
That's
and all
tough.
that?
Yeah, that's tough. I haven't seen him enough to be able to be like, yeah, this guy is going to be that good at this level. But, I mean, the offenses Washington State's run the last 3 or 4 years, pre and post Cam Ward, have been really good.
Yeah. This guy's only 29 years old, the new coordinator, Mr. Arbuckle.
I can't imagine being the
you're
offensive coordinator
exactly.
at Oklahoma. We're the same age.
You're 29. Still nothing yet, I promise you. I know it's a little awkward for all of us right now because, again, we were told around 3:30. And I'm trying to sort of be the producer director here all at the same time.
And I was told there'd be no math.
That's right, and I don't like math. I tell you what, let's do this because we do have breaks to hit. We're going to hit the break. I anticipate this comes any second, and we'll have all this in its entirety should it begin before we get back. But let me go ahead and get that one done for you here as a busy Thursday rolls on. New athletics director announcement coming very soon. You're listening to the Postgame Show. All right, 3:45 on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. While we were away, the Gamecock Twitter feed says, thanks for everyone's patience. We are currently waiting on the Board of Trustees to finish up their meeting. Hopefully, we will be getting started here shortly. So that happened while we were in the commercial break. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Everything's fine. I'm not going to sit here. I think by now, if something were going wrong, I think we'd hear about it.
Oh, certainly.
Somebody would have hit me by now and go, "Oh man, this thing just went south." You know,
you would know. You specifically would know.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're just we're waiting. Maybe they just all wanted to see how like the holiday went. Who had fried turkey? Who had roasted turkey? Who had smoked turkey?
Maybe they are finishing a meal right now. Maybe they said, "All right, congratulations,
in the Gridiron
this is
Club.
done."
Yeah. Maybe somebody realized there was still some beer left in some of the kegs, and they were like, "All right."
I mean, we got to tap this thing out now before it gets flat.
That's right.
I mean, that would be wasteful if you didn't do it.
You got to be efficient.
Yeah.
And it's a collegiate athletics department, so let's use all of the product.
Efficiency is the name of the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little surprised. I thought, honestly, you can back me up. I told Elijah and Terry today. We were talking this morning. I said this thing will go at 3:38, and I've missed it by 9 minutes thus far.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah, I knew it wouldn't go at 3:30. That's why they told us around. They knew it wouldn't go at 3:30. Like for instance, when coaches go with these things, all right, like when Shane has his 1 o'clock press conference, that sucker starts at 1. Sometimes it might even start at 12:59. Only once. Remember, he apologized because he had, what was it? He had somebody, he had like a...
he was filming with Ryan McGee, right?
Something like that, yeah. It was something important that was happening. He was like, I am so sorry. And here's the thing. The coaches are so regimented in their day, like no minute wasted.
Nope.
Like there is no gray area. Like the only time, like yesterday, like Shane, came on with us. We made Shane like wait for 90 seconds, which he probably actually appreciated for just a minute. Like, all right, here's 90 seconds where I don't have to do anything.
Or I don't have to speak.
I want to believe he appreciated it for a minute, but otherwise their days are so regimented. But with a board of trustees, and some people like to just make sure everything is the way they want it to be.
There's some politicking going around too.
We did just see another little note that says it will be starting shortly. Okay.
Define shortly.
So we will get it for you. But once again, if you've just tuned in, the new athletics director is expected, unless something unless that's just what's happening, and it's not. The new athletics director is going to be Jeremiah Donati of Texas Christian University. Carolina has a good track record with TCU ADs, at least one of them in a previous life. Eric Hyman coming over from Texas Christian, and it would be very difficult to say that his tenure at South Carolina was anything other than successful. So, you've got a good history with that school. Their paths did not cross, Mr. Donati and Coach Hyman, while Eric was out in Fort Worth. But he's been their AD since 2017. He has been in their athletics department since 2011. Before that, he practiced in Lee Steinberg's sports agency. Jeremiah Donati is an attorney in terms of at least his law degree. He's got a JD. So,
Power and Associates.
Yeah, he's good. He's good at negotiating, and that's going to be important with NIL deals. Again, as we talked about a bunch too, he comes to South Carolina at a really good time from a coaching perspective. He won't have to jump in. He'll obviously meet with all these coaches and meet with their staff members and all of those kinds of things and evaluate things here or there. But when you look, especially at the biggest sports on campus, everybody's really secure right now. And that's good. You know, you've got a new softball coach, and you don't know what she's done yet, but you're not going to go say, oh, I don't like you. And they don't even have a softball team at TCU, so I imagine he'll trust Ray Tanner's leadership on that one. No, I mean, obviously he will, y'all. I'm just kidding when I say that. But, again, look, Shane Beamer, y'all see what's happening. Lamont Paris, you see what's happening. Dawn.
She's done pretty well, right?
It's been rocky for a bit, man, but I think she'll turn it around. All right, Steve Fink has taken the podium. Let's get you to the announcement of the new AD.
Well.
My name is Steve Fink. I'm a Senior Associate Athletic Director for Communications here at the University of South Carolina, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's press conference as we begin a new chapter in South Carolina athletics. Today we will hear first from University of South Carolina President Michael Amarides, who will introduce our new athletics director, Jeremiah Donati. Also on the dais today is the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Thad Westbrook. After Jeremiah makes some opening remarks, we will then open up for questions from the media. If you will, raise your hand and we will get a microphone to you at that time. Following the press conference, we'll have a short opportunity for photos here with our new athletic director and his family, and of course, people on the dais. And then we will have an opportunity for some short meet and greet after that. We do, as you can probably imagine, both the president and the athletic director have a busy schedule today, and so we do have a hard out at 4:30 today, so plan accordingly with that. With that, I'll turn the program over to our president, Michael Amarides. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Back in September, when Coach Tanner and I announced his new role, the press actually asked me what I would be looking for in a new athletic director. I told them that my preference is to hire someone who has been in this position and has been successful. I also added that I would prefer someone who has done so in one of the Power 4 conferences in the country. Since then, I met with a number of different groups: our university trustees, the board of the Gamecock Club, our coaches, our administrators in the athletic department, our biggest supporters, and our student athletes leadership. And I asked them all the same questions. I asked them which characteristics I should look for and which characteristics I need to avoid. And despite the difference, the big differences between these groups, they converted to the same advices that I received from all of them. They want somebody who is successful, experienced, visionary, great communicator, fundraiser, friendly, and the list kept going on. I have to admit that after these meetings, I started thinking that I would be looking for a unicorn. But what I found out as we started approaching candidates was the strength and the respect the whole college athletic community has for the Gamecocks and for the work that Ray Tanner and his predecessors have done. Only one person that we approached, and we approached a lot of them, was not interested in having a discussion. Only one. And I also found out that there is a unicorn at Dallas with a first name and a last name, Jeremiah Donati. Jeremiah has done a fantastic job as the athletic director of TCU. The national success and the conference championships of the TCU teams speak for themselves. The academic success of the student athletes, the impressive fundraising results, the facilities built or renovated during his tenure, his presence in the national scene and the respect of his peers, and his principles and personality. All of them combined differentiated Jeremiah from the rest of the group that we talked to. I remember a few weeks ago, in my final meeting with one of the groups, our biggest supporters of the athletic department, one of them summarized the discussion that we had, saying, basically, we're telling you that you need a lawyer and a businessman who has done this work very well, who can project the future and can find the money that he will need. And then he also added, and of course, a very nice person. Everyone laughed that evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present to you and introduce to you this person, our new athletic director, Jeremiah Donati.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you. Good afternoon. And thank you all for being here today. The staff, coaches, student athletes, I'm so fired up to start working with you all. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be here. This has been a whirlwind, to put it mildly. And forgive me if I just take a moment to take it all in. This is a special moment for me. It's a special moment for our family. And I'm just so grateful and humbled. It's very surreal. I am beyond thrilled to stand before you today as the next athletics director at the University of South Carolina. And just to hear myself say that feels a little surreal. It's such an honor. It truly is a dream come true to come for me and my family to be here. And we're so anxious and excited to become part of the Gamecock family. I want to start by thanking President Michael Emeritus and the chair of the board, Thad Westbrook, for your faith in me and for allowing me to serve in this role at this outstanding institution. Upon meeting you both, it was clear to me how much you care about this institution, how much you care about the city of Columbia, the state of South Carolina, and the students here most importantly. Your vision, their vision, was so inspiring to me. It was candidly a huge factor in my decision. From the bottom of my heart, thank you both. I would also like to thank the members of the Board of Trustees who just approved my appointment, who also share a deep passion for this university and this community, and I'm so grateful for your confidence in me. I look forward to getting to know all of you and to working with you side by side in the years to come. So, as you all know, this is a time of historic change and uncertainty in the world of college athletics. Beginning next summer, for example, many drastic changes will take effect, and much of what we know will never look the same. And yet, meanwhile, there has never been more pressure to win on the courts and on the fields than right now. The stakes have never been higher. And I believe that the programs that will be most successful in these unpredictable times, those that will truly shine, those that will truly thrive, will not only wholeheartedly accept the changes in front of them, that the landscape is changing, but they will adapt to this new environment in all that they do. And I assure you, we will do both here. In doing so, I'm confident that we also will thrive. It will take great planning, it'll take great collaboration, it'll take great teamwork, not just within the department, but across campus and across the city of Columbia, because these plans, they're not gonna be my plans. It's not gonna be my ideas alone, my plans, they will be our plans. We will share in our collective success together, we will have our footprints on this together, and we will win together. When it comes to winning, speaking of which, I understand the standard here is set very high at USC. Wearing the colors of garnet and black comes with big expectations across the board and everything we do, and that is a great thing. I welcome those expectations. I want to dream with you about what's possible here. Candidly, that's why I'm here. That's one of the biggest reasons I came, is to dream with you all. Although I do not know him well yet, I just met him, Mr. Ray Tanner, I have a ton of admiration and respect for the work that Ray has done in the athletics program he has built here. I firmly believe I'm coming on board at the perfect time, and we are extremely well positioned for future success. The challenge, of course, is building on this great foundation and achieving more and flying higher. And so I'm really looking forward to working with Coach Tanner. I'm really looking forward to working with our staff and in the coming months and years. And although I do not technically start until January, I'm so eager to meet our staff and our coaches. Today, I'll be around tomorrow, and together we're going to build upon what's going well, and we're going to address the opportunities for improvement. And again, we're going to do this together. But I'll tell you this much: there's four things we're really going to prioritize. For number one, starts with academic success and achievement, making sure our student athletes get their degrees from the University of South Carolina. Number two, we are going to deliver an unbelievable student athlete experience for all of our Gamecocks. Number three, there's going to be an emphasis on driving revenue and identifying areas of growth and for development. And of course, four, we are going to compete at the very highest level for SEC and national championships. I pledge that we will pursue excellence in all of these, and we will do so while staying true to the mission and values of the University of South Carolina. Before I conclude and open up for questions, I've got plenty of people to thank. You don't do this alone, and I've been very fortunate to have a tremendous amount of support behind me all along. And first and foremost, I want to acknowledge and thank my dear friends and colleagues at TCU and in Fort Worth, Texas right now. I am so grateful for my time, my 13 years at TCU, and I could not have asked for a more wonderful experience there. Candidly, it had to be the perfect opportunity for my family and I to consider leaving, and we found that here. I cherish every moment at TCU. I'm thankful to my staff, our coaches, our student athlete. I'm especially grateful to Chancellor Victor Boschini, his wife Megan, and President Pullen for giving me the opportunity to lead the department. I will miss all of you very much, but I've created so many lifelong friends there, and I know that those will continue. Next, I'd like to thank my friends and family and my mentors for their continued support for me personally and professionally. My dad, my best friend, could not be with us today, unfortunately, but he's here with us in spirit. As you know, the business of college athletics is a wild, wild ride, and having people around you who support you through the tough times and the good times is truly a gift, and I've been given a tremendous gift. So thank you for your support. Thank you, Willie Funk. Thank you, Matt Kelly. Thanks for your help shepherding this process. I feel so honored to be here today to share this moment with my mom, Donna Donati, who is an inspiration to me and is my biggest fan, perhaps, but also can be my biggest critic. And I mean that lovingly, Mom. I love you to death. Thank you so much. To our family's dear friends, Ferris Perry, Michael Gonzalez, thank you both so much for being here and making the trip. Love you both. Thank you for all you do for our family. To my MVP and our VIPs, my MVP, my beautiful wife, my beautiful, wonderful wife, Nicole, who truly is the rock of our family. Thank you so much for supporting me and us. I know how much responsibility you carry. It's not easy to be the spouse of an athletics director, and I love you more and more each day. I really appreciate all that you do for us. My VIPs, my other bosses, with all due respect, sitting right there. I love to call them my other bosses, the greatest joys of our lives, my two daughters, Colette and Naomi. Thank you for being supportive of your dad, so supportive of your dad. It means the world to me. Thank you for making me laugh every day, keeping me humble, keeping me on my toes. I know the two of you will love it here in Columbia, and I'm looking forward to having you out here. And finally, to all of Gamecock Nation out there, to our alumni, to our fans, to our coaches, our faculty, our staff, our students, and most importantly, our student athletes, I promise you I am going to give you everything I have in this role, everything. It is hard to overstate just how excited I am about being part of this incredible program, carrying on the amazing traditions that come with being a Gamecock. This is the flagship institution in the great state of South Carolina, and we play a critical role in the development of the local and statewide communities, and equally as important, in the development of young people, and that will always be our North Star. I accept all the challenges and opportunities that come ahead, and I do so with great humility and enthusiasm. And with that, let's go. Go Gamecocks, and Spurs up. Thank you, everybody.
questions, if you would raise your hand, Michael and Brian have mics, and of course we'll go to David with the first one. If you would please introduce yourself as well and who you represent.
Hello, Jeremiah. David Cloninger with the Charleston Post and Courier. Welcome to South Carolina.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've dealt with NIL, the revenue sharing, the new things that are approaching college athletics at TCU. Is it as simple as bringing the plan that you had to deal with it over there to here?
Yes and no. It's changing. And so what's going to be new for all of us is when revenue sharing hits. And so we know with that permissive cap, those rules will look very similar, right? $20.5 million, that's not going to change. So, I'll be really excited to sit down with our coaches and understand a little bit more of our plan here. I understand kind of the framework of it, but that's, we have a tremendous commitment from the university to do that. That says a lot about the commitment overall into athletics. And so I think the real key there is going to be, what does NIL look like? What is the traditional NIL that we thought we signed up for back in 2021? What does that look like when July 1st hits? And we have hopefully real NIL, and we've got the revenue sharing on the other side. So difficult to say right now. I'm going to spend a lot of time, in the coming weeks and months figuring out, how our collectives are working and, what other NIL support we can, because that will be critical. Traditional NIL support, if you will be incredibly important for our student athletes, and so we're going to be very aggressive there.
Let's go to the middle, Jordan.
Hey, Jeremiah, Jordan Kay with the State Newspaper. When you got the TCU athletic director job, it was just an in-house promotion. Mm-hmm. When you get this, what is going to be your balance of trying to understand this place, but also bring in a fresh perspective as someone who's coming from the outside?
A great question. So, it's take a little time. There'll be an acclimation period just because, I'm new to the state. And I've got a whole new staff. And like you said, when I was promoted at TCU, a lot of those people I'd worked with. And so that'll take some time. But, candidly, that's the fun part, and getting to understand where everybody is. A big thing for me is really ensuring that the program is built for the future, because as I mentioned in my comments, it's changing so fast that, I think every athletics department needs to make sure we're preparing for the next 5 to 10 years and not what we did the previous 5 to 10 years. So it'll take some time. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I've got to get a chance to get to know all the coaches and student athletes, and I look forward to that. That's the fun part of it. So I asked them to be a little patient with me, but they'll see that I work really hard. And even though my family won't be with me in the spring, they're gonna finish out their school years. In some ways, that's a gift, because I can spend a little more time developing those relationships, and so I'm looking forward to it.
Rick Henry, WIS-TV here in Columbia. Welcome to South Carolina.
Thank you, Rick.
When you were being courted by the university, what turned out to be the #1 selling point that made you say yes?
Well, great question. It was probably a few things. One, it was the leadership, and as I mentioned in my remarks, you want to go, I think in life, you want to go to places that are on an upward trajectory. That was one of the reasons why I chose to go to TCU. You can see pretty clearly this place is on a tremendous trajectory. And so it was easy to see that from a distance, but when you see the passion people have for this university, you want to be at a place where there's big expectations, where there's resources. And so I'm not answering your question. There wasn't one thing, it was a number of things. We wanted to be in a great college town. We wanted to be in a place where a community where we could raise our family. Those were all, very important. So it wasn't just one thing, it was a lot of things. But I'll tell you, I knew very early on, it wasn't very early on, I knew the moment I met President Emeritus and Thad Westbrook that these were special people, and this was a special place.
Beth Houle from Fox Carolina out in Greenville, South Carolina.
Hi.
Coach, we, Jeremiah, have done kind of a deep dive on you and found, you going out and doing these podcasts and you out in front of your fan base. How much does that continue as you come here, and how valuable was using those resources and getting out and using your own voice to be in front of your fan base? How valuable did you find that? What were the positives, and do you carry those over as you move here to Columbia?
Absolutely. I think in our roles, you want to be visible, you want to be transparent. It's a great way to engage fans, engage students. I've found that, especially in social media, sometimes the best way to engage our student athletes is to send them a note after a game on Instagram and just show them I was, impressed or whatever it is. So that'll continue. In fact, I met with the communications team this morning about some ideas that they have. I think it's very important to be open and honest with the fan base. They want to hear from you when things are going great, but they also want an explanation when they're not. And so there's a balance there. But I plan to continue to do those things and to find other ways. I think that the podcast, for example, is a tremendous tool that you see some people doing really well. We were talking about exploring doing that in the future here as well. So I'm open to any ideas. So Gamecock Nation, you got some ideas, send them our way. I'll be on social media, and when I switch over my social media accounts, and at the end of the day, I won't be hard to find.
Hey, Jeremiah, Jack Velcher at GamecockCentral.com. Nice to meet you, and welcome to Columbia.
Thank you.
You spent time at Lee Steinberg, sports and entertainment. Yeah. How does that experience as in the agency business kind of help you when you're in this role as an AD now?
Well, Lee, if you're watching, I love you. Hope all's well in Newport Beach. Lee actually represented a student athlete here not too long ago at USC. At the time, I wouldn't have known, right? Because, we were doing marketing deals before there was NIL. In fact, I always thought it was interesting that, the pros could do NIL deals, but the college students, couldn't. So when NIL started becoming a concept, if you will, I was one of the first that was an advocate for it. So all that to be said, that experience was invaluable, and Lee was so great to me. He's a mentor. For those of you who don't know Lee, you can watch the movie Jerry Maguire. He's the inspiration of that movie, and I'm forever grateful for the 5 years I had with him in California. So it was, at the time, I never would have imagined that getting a law degree and working in a sports agency would prepare you so well, for the post-COVID NIL world, but it did, hopefully, and so here we are. But I'm very grateful for my time with Lee.
Traven Gray with the state newspaper.
Hi.
So when you were having conversations, when you were getting ready to join the team, kind of what was your pitch to the guys, and overall, what's your vision for the role?
What was my pitch to the president and to Thad? We talked a lot about adapting to the changing environment, and I think, as I mentioned in my comments, we're talking about revenue sharing with student athletes, which is, more or less, changing college athletics forever, right? But guess what? There's more coming, right? Because sooner or later, they're going to be student athletes. We're going to have the discussion about them being employees. There's a bevy of other lawsuits there that threaten our model, if you will, and so we're not going to be able to solve all those problems, in a vacuum. It's going to take a lot of forward looking. It's going to take a lot of collaboration, and so I was trying to impress upon them that we're going to be ready for that, and we're going to be. That's one of the things I think I can bring to the table. A couple of things, candidly, I thought were really intriguing about this opportunity were the stadium renovations potentially. I was fortunate to do that twice, or to be a part of that twice at TCU, and in the multi-use entertainment district. You think about building together. I've seen other examples of that around the country, but having a connection directly to the university and have this branded South Carolina Gamecocks is pretty special. There's not many places in the country that could pull that off. So. We're gonna, over the coming months, we'll do a better job of coloring our vision. I need a chance to really understand. This is not a fixer-upper, right? This is not here because things are going poorly. Things are going really well, and the question is going to be, the challenge is going to be how can you fly higher? So it'll take a time to understand where those, any gaps in excellence are and where those opportunities are, but we'll be ready.
That's a lot from Jeremiah Donati. He is the new athletics director at the University of South Carolina, introduced today by President Emeritus and Thad Westbrook, the chair of the board, and a lot of good stuff in there. We will come back on the other side of the break and start to grab y'all's thoughts on this, what Elijah and I think, and I would say, you always want to win the press conference. I'd say Jeremiah Donati and Dr. Emeritus certainly pulled that off this afternoon down at Williams-Brice Stadium. Stay with us. So much more to do on a busy Thursday as the Gamecocks announce their new leader. This is the Postgame Show. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, no better place to finance your next vehicle. Maybe somebody's going to get a new set of wheels for the holidays. Maybe that'll be a New Year's resolution, tired of the clunker, whatever it might be. There is, again, no better place to finance your next vehicle. Same low rates on new to 21 models. And listen, these are lower rates right now, especially in this particular environment. Great options for older vehicles as well. Maybe something to beat around down on the farm when you're going hunting, tailgating. And many of them come with no payments for up to 90 days. Plus, they can finance over 100% of the retail or purchase price on those new to 21 models, and they've got some great insurance and other options that dealerships simply can't get you. So go shopping for that next set of wheels. Then check with Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and find out how much you can save. Learn more right now and apply at palmettocitizens.org. Nineteen minutes after 4 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. We'll have more later on throughout the afternoon and obviously for days to come from Jeremiah Donati, the new athletics director at University of South Carolina, effective in January. I imagine when the new semester begins, he will officially take over as AD. So full approval today from the Board of Trustees, led by Chairman Thad Westbrook, who was in attendance today, as was the majority of the board, if not all of them. I couldn't see everybody, so it's hard to tell for sure here from my vantage point, not being down there. But I thought the introduction from Dr. Amaritis was fantastic. You know, there were a lot of different types of candidates for a job like this one. And I thought it was interesting in the final answer that y'all heard here on our airwaves, at least, that Jeremiah said that this is not a fixer-upper. I listen. I'm not going to. What I'm getting ready to say is not meant to go, I can't believe you guys are beating up on Ray Tanner, because anybody in a leadership position is going to have moments where they would like a do-over, or they could have done something better, or reevaluated in a certain way. But as we mentioned yesterday, when this was becoming more official, and certainly now that it is, again, look at the athletics department right now, coming out of COVID. This was, before COVID, one of only about 24 athletics departments that ran itself without funding from campus, without crazy student fees. And you see a lot of that. Even at some schools in the Southeastern Conference, you see a lot of that. Things have changed a little bit now because of COVID and because of just the environment we're in economically around the country. But Ray Tanner's made some good coaching hires. And the vast majority of programs on campus make the NCAA tournament. A few of them advance on a regular basis, obviously. And you want more of that. You want Paul Maneri to get this baseball program back to Omaha. You'd like to see Lamont Paris not just make the tournament, but advance in the tournament. Shelley Smith continues to advance in the tournament. Tony Annan had the most wins in the soccer program in 8 years. Obviously, Shane Beamer had this program on the cusp of a national tournament, and they will play in a good bowl game. They do have a chance to do something that's only been done 4 times in the history of the school, and that's win at least 10 football games. This athletics department is in really good shape. It is in, quite obviously, the premier conference in the country when it comes to competition. The second best, if you want to look at it from in terms of what the financial payout per institution is, and it's not that far behind the Big Ten, and they certainly are both, Elijah, as you well know, so far ahead of any other conference. This school, I don't know that a guy like Jeremiah Donati, this is my opinion now, we haven't met him yet, and believe me, we will effort him onto the program as soon as possible. Industry term. I have already made overtures, and we'll get that done. I'm not at all concerned about that, obviously. But I don't know that he takes a job that's a so-called fixer-upper, or that is like, hey, listen, man, we don't know about what our future looks like. We got crappy facilities. Our fan base is disinterested. Nah, this fan base is engaged. The money continues to come in. This is a nice place to live. It's a really good school. There's a lot to like about the opportunity. This is not a fixer-upper, he said. He wants to come in and jump from the point that Ray Tanner is leaving him. And I think that point is actually very, very healthy.
Yeah, and this could be elevating. He wants to elevate this athletic department. And the only way, I think we've had some very thorough discussions about how this university moves into the future and what is going to look significantly different than college or collegiate athletics in the past. And the only way to do so is to fully not just understand, but embrace where all of this is going. I did really like how he actually said the words revenue share model and employment of athletes eventually potentially being employees in the future. They're tricky topics, but he's getting out in front of it by mentioning it by name. It's not, for some reason, some people take these jobs and they talk about the challenges that lie ahead. They'll use blanket terms, right? And it's not that using those blanket terms means you don't know what you're doing, but to be public about what you're facing and what is something that is going to have to be discussed in a difficult topic to maneuver and a really big hurdle that every college is going to have to face. Not running from it and addressing it pretty bluntly, I found it to be pretty admirable. And that was his head is in the right place in terms of furthering the university in a time where you can jump people if those other athletic departments that you compete against don't embrace the same things you do?
I would be, I don't know yet what I'm, and I'll be careful how I word this. I don't want to sit here and go, I'm really excited. It's been, what, 12 years since Ray Tanner became AD. There are a lot of reasons as to why now was the right time for leadership change. I suppose instead of the word excited, and I imagine that many of you may feel this way, I'm most intrigued by his background in sports business. I thought Jack Veltri, our buddy Jack Veltri, asked a fantastic question about Jeremiah Donati's time with the great Lee Steinberg, who, as he said, most sports agents look to as that first real super agent in this country. We've got a couple of them now, and depending on like who they represent, Scott Boras in baseball. We talk about Jimmy Sexton all the time. Seems to basically be the guy that represents every football coach in America, and
He's
not
the
just
buyout
college.
king.
I mean, college and pro. But those are the guys. And I asked you, Drew Rosenhaus.
Next question.
Yeah, next question. That was so great. Weren't they in like T.O.'s driveway?
They were in his driveway where he was doing sit-ups in front of a camera.
That's
crew.
great. It's just but that's what agents do. Like they've got to understand the different personalities and what's going on. But I think even if it's been 13 years since he was working in a sports agency, what you learn in that 5 years from someone who's it's not just some sports agency that he worked with. It was the premier one. Yeah. And to be able to continually talk about those things. And he mentioned that when NIL became I thought the way he worded the answer was great too. When NIL became a concept, and he's like a lot of us. Like I remember, and I'll come back around to my point, but I remember one of the things that hacked me off about an inability to capitalize on who you are wasn't from like some Heisman Trophy winning quarterback or some NBA potential first round pick. It was when some swimmers at Stanford, some female swimmers at Stanford, just wanted to give swim lessons in the summer in the Bay Area. And they wanted to do it by saying, we're Stanford swimmers. We come from an Olympic style program, and we just want to make some extra money and train kids while we're still in school. And the NCAA doesn't let them because, oh no, you can't capitalize on who you are. Or the kid who had a YouTube channel earlier on, there was a punter, I think, or kicker down at UCF. You got to pick one, man. You can either do your YouTube channel or you can be a college athlete. It's like, it's those things, like the more, dare I say, obscure type things. But
Jeremy Bloom.
Jeremy Bloom, who wanted to go ski. Yeah, was a receiver at Colorado and was an Olympic level snow skier and just wanted to be able, like all snow skiers do, to get sponsors so that in the off season he could go down to South America and ski when it's winter down there and summer here because he wasn't playing football then. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't do that. And so he quit football to go ski, right? I mean,
yep, he did.
Because and that's those things. It's taking that kind of concept. Yes, the Heisman candidate can make money and whomever else. Y'all get the star pitcher, Paul Skeens and those kind of guys, sure. But it's everybody else too. And that he wants to use those kind of things. Again, when it became a concept, I was on board. That's where we are. It's not we might get there or do you want to? No, this is where we are. And if you don't just embrace it but move forward with it, you will be left behind. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's that amongst many other things that he's done at a big school in a big city, it is taking those kind of concepts, Elijah, and moving them forward here.
Yeah.
It has to be done.
Yeah, and that's how you elevate, right? I mean, we're at a crucial point in the history of collegiate athletics. And if COVID was one, and that created some separation between certain athletic departments, as even in conferences, this right here, post-COVID, is another one, and that's why this is such a crucial hire.
Let's hear from you guys on what you think of Jeremiah Donati, 803-404-6100. You're listening to the Thursday Postgame Show. Y'all know I love telling you about our friends at Integrated Media. I also love telling you about the fact that the Integrated Media crew is getting ready to open the brand new location of Pro Swing in Forest Acres. It's going to be right down the street from the Trader Joe's in that neck of Forest Drive. And I'm thrilled about this. I even saw a billboard about it the other day. I was like, oh, yeah, man. I mean, it's coming. It's coming. So great gift ideas in there, too. Whether it's the original Pro Swing out in Chapin next to World Headquarters of Integrated Media on Snapdragon Court or the new one on Forest Drive, they can hook you up with all the latest in golf simulation. And speaking of golf, you can watch it better in your home with Integrated Media. Holiday specials, football playoffs, college and pro, basketball season well underway. Do it all better than ever with Integrated Media and incorporate Pro Swing into your routine as well. 803-948-8327. Integrated Media. Give them a shout.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Fort Jackson Boulevard at I-77, another one on Hampton Street at Hugh G. Street. Got one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road near Sparkleberry Lane, one on I-26 eastbound at I-20 near exit 107B, and lastly, a disabled vehicle is causing some traffic back up on 26 West between Broad River Road and exit 97 and Columbia Avenue and exit 91.
We are talking about the brand new athletics director at the University of South Carolina, or at least he will officially become the new athletics director next month. His name is Jeremiah Donati. He comes to South Carolina from Texas Christian University, where he's been the AD since 2017, been on their staff since 2011. Before that, working in Lee Steinberg's sports agency. Again, the agency that gives credit to the big super agencies that we see today across sports, representing players and coaches all across the country. He's in his 40s. He did say his wife and daughters will hang in Fort Worth through the next semester, and then they'll move to Columbia in the summer. So that'll allow him to transition to meeting everybody around here, and then they'll find a nice place to live, and on we go. But Dr. Amarides saying that he wanted to find someone that had been doing this successfully for a while at a big school. And all those boxes got checked. And then he joked and said, and then I realized I was looking for a unicorn. But he found one.
People who I've heard described as unicorns. Kristaps Porzingis and now Jeremiah
That's
Donati.
right. So he does. And again, I think the business acumen part of this, as I just mentioned in the last segment, is crucial. It's not a reflection upon what's been happening. It's still evolving. We're still, in terms of a lot of this stuff, we're in the infancy stage. And really, some of this doesn't even become official until the summer. So it hasn't even really begun. But you must be prepared to hit the ground, not just running, but hit the ground running at Usain Bolt type levels.
Yeah. Taking off, if you will.
Yeah. Because, I mean, seriously, if you don't,
hauling.
It's not that you get left behind forever. But if you have an opportunity to start out front and set the pace, and look, the big schools, the Ohio States and Texases and Georgias and Floridas and UCLAs will always have certain inherent advantages that most of America's schools do not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, right? Like, that's okay. I mean, but him, honestly, Elijah, seriously, working in Texas, where the competition for dollars, and there's a lot of them, is cutthroat, I think is a big deal. TCU has played for a national football championship under his leadership. But they're not going to and I'm not saying, hey, be happy, Carolina fans, that you're going to still be outraised by a bunch of schools. My point is, the environment changes a little bit around here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, where is TCU? I would say at best in most years, and this is just us talking, TCU might be 4th or 5th in Texas. I would certainly count the big 3 state schools as being ahead of everyone just because, again, of their sheer size, Texas A&M, Texas Tech. But Baylor, TCU, SMU,
I mean,
Houston to some degree. Even Rice has a lot of money.
And have they been any bit more successful than TCU has?
No, not anymore.
I would say even from like a foundation level, they think about where we were in collegiate athletics 10 years ago, right? And look at where Baylor was in all sports compared to TCU. Which athletic department do you think is probably a little healthier right now?
TCU.
TCU.
Yeah.
Like he's leaving that place in a better situation
Right.
than when he started.
Right.
You can say the same thing about Texas Tech.
Right.
You can say the same thing about a lot of different colleges in the big old state of Texas, where he has left it not just better than he found it with the programs specifically in the athletic department, but he also surpassed some other schools
Right.
that, like you said, they compete for a lot of dollars. The health of TCU from an athletic standpoint is pretty healthy. And I think you can contribute a lot of that to what leadership does for you, especially when you're a very forward-thinking athletic director.
Let's hear from you guys. 803-404-6100. Robert is up next. Hey, Robert, good afternoon.
Hey, guys. I am a die-hard Gamecock fan, but I spent 16 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area working in the oil and gas industry. So I just recently, in the past 2 years, moved back to Tampa to work, but I have familiarity with the TCU program, and I'm big on the financial part of what he can do for us, the legal standpoint, all that, but I'm not big on TCU made it to one national championship. They got blown out by Georgia. The programs that they do have, I mean, I'm just not big on this hire simply for the fact that I watched and was around Dallas-Fort Worth with this gentleman being the TCU AD, and I got to witness what TCU really is, and there are mediocre programs in the Big 12. And in like I said, I got front row to see TCU, SMU, and all those programs while I lived out there for 16 years working.
What concerns you the most?
Well, where these, like, he was the AD since 2011. Was he not?
2017.
Oh, 2017. Sorry, I heard something along 2011. But, okay, 2017.
He's been working there since 2011. He's been the AD since 2017.
Okay, excuse me. But, like I said, I mean, they made it to one national championship game, or, against Georgia. They got blown out. And the only thing that I'm liking about this hire is the fact that he can talk, he can raise money, and he's coming from a legal standpoint of where college football is headed and college sports, right? I mean, we are getting that out of this guy. But to me, it's not
I would argue that's the most crucial thing at this juncture, as what we were talking about, that you've got a heck of a coaching roster right now, and you look across the board.
And I agree with y'all there.
And the programs are all making the NCAAs.
I also have a question, too. What makes TCU a mediocre Big 12 athletic department? I know you said you saw it up close, but I'm curious to know why you say that, because the baseball team has been to plenty of College World Series since he's been there. The men's basketball team has been to 4 NCAA tournaments, whereas before the hire of Jamie Dixon, they didn't make one since 1998. They've gone to a college football playoff.
You're coming out of the Big 12, and a lot of players and a lot of people across this nation will tell you the Big 12 is on a downhill.
Maybe that's why he's jumping out. Like I kid about that part, but I mean, you got to start somewhere and work your way up to it. I look, it's fine that you have your opinion, man. And that you've been living out there. That's great. I can't wait, honestly, to ask our good friend Langston Moore about this same thing, because he too has been living for years and years. In fact, the last 15-ish years. Or longer since he got out of the league in Dallas. So he's been out there a long time, too. We've got other friends that have worked out that way. Again, have your opinion. That's fine. The track record is strong. I firmly believe that. And, again, he won't have to worry in the short term, at least, about trying to develop programs that are having trouble at the national level. I mean, again, look at – y'all can talk about all the minor sports all you want and not care about them, but Carolina's major sports are all doing. Now you want them to do better, other than Dawn's, and you want to keep Dawn's at the level that it currently resides. But I mean, Shane's doing well. I mean, baseball fired a coach who made the tournament and now just brought in a championship coach. Lamont made the tournament. Shelley Smith advanced in the tournament. Men's and women's golf made the tournament. I mean, these are, things are in good shape in Columbia. And this guy's here to take the business part of it to the next level. And that track record is pretty good, in my opinion. Thanks for the phone call, man. Appreciate it. Lots more from y'all coming up. 11 minutes in front of 5 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. A lot of you did not like that last phone call. I don't blame you. Look, again, anybody can have an opinion. I do think that caller, I mean, look, you can live wherever and say you saw it up close. They won 4 national championships during Jeremiah Donati's tenure. We had somebody hit us and say, how many college football playoffs has South Carolina gone to? And it's a Gamecock fan that hit us. That's a legit question. I mean, would you take a blowout loss in a national championship game over not going? And he didn't coach the team. And did you see how they overachieved just to get there? You want to bring that spirit. And mediocre Big 12, listen, you got to, there all kinds of people start at lower levels and move up. And the Big 12, it isn't like it's, the MAC.
Right.
Or that he's coming from the SoCon straight into the AD job at an SEC school. It's Texas Christian. Everybody looks around and has nothing but respect for the program. Again, it's not even Rice.
Right.
I would even argue that it's not SMU. SMU finally, they've been begging to get into a big league, and they finally got there this year.
Shamelessly. I don't even get any money for it.
Again, if the dude that called us has an opinion on that, that's great. Opinions, y'all all know what opinions are like. But to say it's a mediocre Big 12 program, and again, you're not being asked to come to Columbia and immediately, as Mr. Donati himself said, this is not a fixer-upper. Look across campus. Ray Tanner, again, crap on him all you want to from time to time. I get it. He knows a lot of it is warranted. But he's leaving behind, if you will, a very healthy athletic department. Like I say, just look. Don't take my word for it. There's evidence to show you how many of the programs on campus are relevant at the national level. And quite honestly, y'all, it's most of them. Not all, but most in terms of making national tournaments or being in the discussion like football. I just, while he, again, that's fired a lot of you up. The text line, the YouTube page, and I can't read all of them, but I'm just giving you a general refrain of some of the things that we've gotten in the last couple of minutes. So I wouldn't take that as a representative slice of the pie of how the fan base feels about who's coming in to lead the athletics department. And like I said, I look forward next week. We'll talk with Langston about what he has been seeing in the Metroplex.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also
what he hears about this guy.
Yeah, he's also
his backyard.
a resident of that area. Let me get back on the phones here. Casey is up next. Hey, Casey, how you doing?
Hey, fellas. I know you didn't ask it, but here's my opinion. Since we love opinions on this show. It's great to have a new set of eyes come in. It's not really about his coaching hires. I think that, like you pointed out, we're pretty good on that. And still, we don't need to put a guy on, to the fire without even making a coaching hire. I think that is, par for the course of most fans in today's world on how he reacted. It's a great hire. It's about making Carolina the brand, a household name, more so than it is now. Making sure that the nation knows that we're a place to be feared if you come and play at Carolina in any of our sports. That's what he's here for. And he competed with 4 really good schools in their own perspective. And in our state, he's got one, in my opinion. That's Clemson. And if he was successful there, I think he's going to blow it out of the water here. Let's give him some time. I think it was a good hire.
Yeah, thank you. That's where I come around on it. And yes, making certain from a business perspective, and that's where we are. Like I said, that still concerns a lot of people, and I get that. But the conversation about should we be doing NIL, should players be getting a cut, that discussion at the leadership level of college athletics, that discussion is over.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's not fans can discuss anything they want all the time. You are human beings, and you are free to discuss as you see fit. Those who make these decisions have made the decision. This is where we are, not where we're going. We're there. Now, where does it go next? I don't know.
Yeah, the ships are not just sailed, but it's circumnavigated the globe.
Right,
at this point. It's how far gone it has been.
You're on the cruise, baby.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. The port
is gone.
Yeah,
You ain't going back.
They're not throwing the confetti anymore. You're out there, man. You're there. Yeah. How long? What kind of boat you got? We'll find out, right? We got a lot more to get to on this, so sit tight on the phones. This will be basically the headline segment because this is a massive headline. A Southeastern Conference school has just hired a new athletics director. Jay, Elijah, the Thursday post-game show.
It's the season of giving. My friends at Prize Picks are giving you an offer. I'd call Godfather offer. One you can't refuse. Like normally, I would tell you here that Prize Picks is a simple game where you can just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. But because of Pickmas, their offer, you can win up to 200 times your cash now. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. And tonight, man, big game going on in football. I'm not going to call it a monster matchup, but it kind of is, actually. And I love Jordan Love, but man, against that Lions defense, I'm going less on Jordan Love passing yards tonight. Do what you want. That's the best part about Prize Picks because you can know more than me and be able to cash in on your knowledge. Download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME. Again, promo code 1075GAME on Prize Picks. Run your game. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadways. Got one on 26 eastbound near exit 107B. Highway 602 near US 21 in Charleston Highway. Highway 1 at Augusta Road near Sparkleberry Lane. Hampton Street at Hugh G. Street. Freewoods Road at Salem Road and Fort Jackson Boulevard at I-77.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Thursday. Welcome back in. Final hour of the postgame show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. The news of the day is big here in the capital city and across the state of South Carolina, as the University of South Carolina's Board of Trustees has approved the hiring of Jeremiah Donati to be the new athletics director at USC. Dr. Michael Amaritis was very emphatic about what kind of new athletics leader he wanted, and was very, very enthusiastic about this hire in terms of the boxes that Jeremiah Donati checked. Long-serving Power 4 AD, great business skills, obviously success on the field and court, which TCU has shown in a very competitive state and conference, and now brings those traits into the SEC. He also had a 5-year run in Lee Steinberg's sports agency. As he mentioned, and many of you probably already knew, Lee, at least in some way, was kind of the basis for Jerry Maguire as a super agent. Probably some liberties taken and things like that.
Always are.
But, in today's world of Scott Boras, Jimmy Sexton, Drew Rosenhaus, Lee Steinberg was the guy that paved the way for that type of agent to thrive in the athletic environment here in the United States. Again, he's been at TCU since 2011, 2017 as athletics director. He is a lawyer in terms of his academic background. He's got a JD. So he's very good at what he does and is very enthusiastic about taking this job. He said it's not a fixer-upper. He mentioned many times the opportunities for the jumping-off point that Carolina offers him, what Ray Tanner has left behind. There's a lot of success here. And Elijah and I have already talked, and we've heard from a lot of you. The number one thing, in our opinion, he can label them different ways, as ADs will do. I mean, obviously, you do want academic success, and you do want a lot of other things. But in a new world where finances have always been incredibly important, you and I joked yesterday, the number one job of a school's president and a school's athletics director is to raise money. All right. And then he can, the president can worry about the deans of the different colleges on campus. And yes, the AD has to worry about hiring coaches. You got to raise money. And now that you can raise money and have a lot of money distributed to you from your conference, how are you using that money? Are you doing it the right way in terms of NIL and other branding opportunities? We've even had some of you ask, what does this mean for the Under Armour deal? Let me say real quick, the Under Armour deal does not end until June of 2026. So he won't have to worry about that for, say, the next year. I would imagine in about a year is when you start to
think about
that, and that gives you 6 months' time, give or take, to talk with folks. I'll just leave it at that because I have no idea if they stick with Under Armour or go to Nike or Adidas or somebody else. I don't know.
New Balance.
I mean, I love New Balance. I don't know that New Balance is where they're going to go. Didn't Tennessee do New Balance for a while? Am I just misremembering that? I know they were with Adidas for a bit.
Might be hallucinating.
Okay.
Yeah. They were Adidas for a long time.
Well, I could be hallucinating because we have this really trippy laser thing that was for our Christmas drop-in
You're
today.
like all hypnotized.
So it's out there right now. Y'all
You've been
can't
staring
see
at it too long. See, that's
Trust
where
me.
you messed up. That's where you
But
goofed.
I like this hire. I like this hire. I don't want to dwell upon it. We had a caller in the last half hour who said he lived for a time in the Dallas Metroplex and say, from a sports perspective, not all that enthused. From a business perspective, to which, again, we're not really pushing back too hard, but they did go to the college football national championship game. And again, we had a Gamecock fan hit us and basically say, well, has Carolina done that? Like, no. Has Carolina been to 4 men's Final Fours men's tournaments since 2017? No, they've been to 2. While out there, multiple trips to the College World Series. We know what Schloss is all about. As he makes the rounds of the Texas schools, by the way.
Say, he's apparently the village bicycle of college baseball in the state of Texas. Goodness, guy.
Yeah, and has won championships and some. I mean, what'd you say of their sick? We had somebody hit us.
Yeah, we did. We did have a comment that said of the 6 team national championships that they've had in the NCAA, all sports. And that they've had in their history, 4 of them came while he was AD. Okay. So that's SC Scout Guy.
All right, thank you.
On YouTube.
That's something. That's something to build upon. And everybody moves up in the world. That's part of what we all want to do, right?
Yeah.
I didn't look again. I don't want to dwell on one negative phone call because I can already tell Twitter text line. The phone calls we've had, the vast majority of you do not at all concur with that statement and can look at what the future holds. So I don't even want to give too much more credence to that. Again, have an opinion. That's cool. That is what we do here.
I will debate the merits of that.
Yeah. Well, you made some good points off air about that I'll have you share here in just a little bit. But a lot of you want to talk about this, so let's do it. Let's get back on the phones. Keith is up next. Hey, Keith, good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on, Jay? I got 2 questions for you. I remember calling in towards the beginning of the football season, and I asked you guys specifically, what would it take to elevate South Carolina to the potential / standings in the nation of a Georgia, Alabama, LSU? Do you think in time, with the new AD having the background that he has and being able to pull money into schools, do you think in time he has that chance and opportunity to raise this program to be on the level as a Alabama, Georgia, LSU year in, year out? And then the only other question that I got, I'm going to bring it up real fast because I'm trying to get a better understanding of it. College football playoff rankings. If, for instance, Alabama gets beat by Notre Dame and SMU drops to Clemson, say by 3 touchdowns, does Carolina have a very small chance to still squeeze into the top 11?
Thanks for the phone call. Alabama doesn't play again. So there's no Alabama versus Notre Dame. I'm not sure what you might be confused on with that one. There's no more games left. The only games left are Georgia plays Texas, at least in terms of the teams that can get in. Oregon plays Penn State, and Clemson plays SMU. And what's the other? The Big 12 winner is going to be in, and the Big 12 loser is out.
Yeah.
If Clemson wins, there's a possibility that SMU stays in.
And Clemson steals a bid from Alabama.
Yeah, the losers of the SEC and Big Ten games are in, regardless. So there's that part. And no, I hate to tell you, but to answer your question just definitively, no. South Carolina is not getting into the college football playoff. I think the committee made that abundantly clear. It's disappointing, but that's no. I don't see what events could all unfold positively for South Carolina that would not only elevate them, but that would have to subsequently elevate Mississippi. That's what I would say to that. As for your bigger question, listen, man, I'm in my 50s and I've been here most of my life. In order to become something on the level of Georgia, Alabama, LSU, you have to win a lot of championships. And I know you're talking football when you ask that question, Keith. Can it be done? Certainly it can be done. I mean, but look, just as an example, look at how long it has taken Oregon to be considered a premier / elite college football program. And what's something they still do not have? A national title. I think they've only played for one.
2.
They played for 2.
Played first year of the CFP, and then they got Cam Newton.
I knew they got Cam Newton. That's right. They did. They lost to Ohio State.
Ohio State,
yeah,
yep. Marcus
right. Okay.
Mariota.
Thank you.
Winning a Heisman.
Yeah, again, LSU has a lot of national titles. Georgia has a lot of national titles. Alabama has a lot of national titles. But what you're asking is, I think, should be phrased differently. Can South Carolina position themselves to compete with those schools on an annual basis? And the answer is yes. They've done it once. And there was that period under Coach Spurrier where you were – and listen, hear me out before y'all go, oh, come on, that sounds defeatist. If you could split during a 6, 8, 10-year period, split games with Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Clemson, like that, I'll take that because that means you're going head-to-head. You know, now, do you want to dominate them? Certainly you do. It was fun for Carolina fans to beat Clemson 5 years in a row. It was fun for Clemson fans to win, 7 in a row or whatever it was. Georgia's beaten the heck out of Tech most years, right? I get it. But can you begin to climb the ladder? Yeah. And that's why earlier in the year, maybe, Keith, it might have been around one of your phone calls, man, because I do remember your call. I think we said at the time, you just need to win, and I'll always say that. But somebody else called in around that time, and Elijah, you might have to help me out because you know how I am sometimes with what we've discussed. But I remember somebody calling in as a follow-up to a topic like this and saying, well, it sounds to me like you might be saying that Shane Beamer could be in trouble. And I said quite the opposite. I said, no. And this was, again, way back in the beginning of the season. I said, I love what Shane is doing. I love his plan. I love his vision. I love the potential trajectory. The school must support that mission. That was my point back then. And that is my point today. And I think that's a lot of what Jeremiah Donati is going to be able to do. And make no mistake about it, y'all. As great as Dawn's team is and what we want to see from Lamont, and you want to get back to Omaha, football is number one on this campus. And
the
then
cash cow.
Yeah, everybody knows that. And everybody's
every
okay
athletic
with that.
department. That's why every decision made when it comes to conference realignment involves football.
Yeah.
Revolves around it.
And you will support that as such. So I don't have any doubt about the ability to lend further support to the mission. But that does mean signing players to lucrative deals. It does. And I think, again, I had a guy David hit us and says, love the fact he's putting an emphasis on making this athletic department one of the best in the nation. We've had some others that have hit us on the text line talking about the brand. Yeah, go out and work deals with the national companies. Put their logo on Williams-Brice. But the number one thing is being able to play in important games on a regular basis and have them mean something. And we still don't even know what the future of the CFP is going to look like. It's going to expand again. And again, I urge them not to go to 14. I urge them to go to 16 when they do it. Now, not because it would help Carolina right now. That's not what I mean. It's just a nice round number. The point is, things are changing. To be Georgia, Alabama, LSU, that's a wonderful goal. And it is ultimately one that could be attainable, but that may be generational. Instead, focus on how you, in the short term, compete with them on an annual basis. Again, we've seen it once. So we know it's doable here. Is it sustainable here? That becomes the different question, and that's what new leadership is going to be charged with doing.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is being able to string together successful seasons in all of your sports. And obviously football is the big one here, is to take the momentum you have this year and be able to move it forward next year. You're about to have to replace a bunch of players on defense. How do you do that and get older players? Do what you did this last year. Transfer portal. Be able to get a lot of guys that can be instant impact players. When you're raising a lot of money, that money can go to the players. And that now it's not just being able to get fancy locker rooms with barbershops in them and a lot of fancy uniforms and all that type of stuff to use as recruiting tools. Now the money doesn't have to buy the tool to recruit. The money can be the tool to recruit. Right. And that's what we've been talking about, for years in college sports. recruiting. And, the higher of what I think Ari Wasserman calls like your blue chip ratio could be, the more likely you are to be able to sustain that success. And that's really, if your AD talks and you can hear money signs coming out of his mouth, then that's how you're in good shape to be able to sustain any type of success that you have, because then you're not getting coaches poached. You're not getting players poached. Everyone's taken care of, and you can be able to string along years like you will have.
I like Jeremiah Donati's resume from that perspective. Full bank of phone calls. We'll continue talking about South Carolina's new athletics director when the postgame show returns. All right, welcome back into the postgame show. Busy Thursday as South Carolina announced its new athletics director, Jeremiah Donati, coming to Carolina after 7 years at Texas Christian, 13 years overall in their athletics department, and before that, 5 years with Lee Steinberg's sports agency. So he's got a tremendous background that he brings to Columbia, and a lot of you really excited by this one. David again said, I think this is a great hire for the university. Mr. Donati has proven he can raise money. Love the fact he's putting an emphasis on making this athletic department one of the best in the nation. A lot of you kind of echoing some of those same things today. David, thank you for that on the text line, Firehouse Subs text line. Let's get to Ernest up next. Very patient. Ernest, we've been busy, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, Jay. Hey, Elijah. I'm going to throw you out an appetizer and then some meat and potatoes. The appetizer, this hire with, we'll just call him JD, coming from TCU. Well, after Mike McGee, who was our AD and where did he come from?
Yeah.
Eric Hyman. Where did he come from? TCU. He started this. Ray Tanner improved it. This guy's going to take it to the next level. So congratulations to the JD. But the main reason I called in today, I called for it. He got it. Congratulations to Shane Beamer, SEC Coach of the Year. Lenoris, you got robbed because Sampson from Tennessee got an SEC Player of the Year. But let's go get some more awards, and let's show them who the real USC is. Go Gamecocks.
All right, good phone call, Ernest. Thank you. Dylan Sampson's a heck of a player. Listen, Lenoris next year. What do we have, a caller? Or we had who did we have the other day that said, or you and I were talking, dark horse candidate. I was like, nah, he's just a regular horse.
At this point, yeah, he's one of the others.
He's not going to, next year's not a 50-1 shot, you know. I'm not saying he's the leader going into the season.
He'll probably be in the top 10 to 15 names.
Yeah, I think top 10.
Whenever we get to the offseason, after, one of Travis Hunter or Ashton Jeanty wins the Heisman this year and we get odds for next year, I mean, I'd be surprised to see Lenora Sellers outside of the top 10 in terms of like odds.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty high. Let's see. So I can be fair to everybody who's been holding on. James is up next. Hey, James. Good afternoon.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just thought I'd chime in. I didn't hear the caller earlier who was, I guess, calling TCU a mediocre program or whatnot. I had to defend their honor a little bit. I'm actually from Fort Worth. I spent my entire life there until about 6 months ago and moved to Columbia. So go Cox.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, we're excited to be here. But anyway, people have to remember what TCU is. I mean, it's a small Christian school in Texas. I mean, it's very hard to recruit there, of course. You got to compete with, the Aggies, the Longhorns, the Sooners, even LSU and Arkansas in the mix, Baylor. And, the fact they even made a national championship game is not something that I would have ever expected when I was a kid, growing up there. In the Andy Dalton days, when it was just a cute little story because, they're in the Mountain West, not really going to compete for anything unless they go undefeated and they might have a shot. They went to the Rose Bowl that one year. But, yeah, so, I mean, just making a national championship, I would certainly take that if I'm South Carolina right now. That would be really cool to see.
Even if you get beat by 60, point, you made it, man. I think a lot of people would take that. It was it hurt TCU that day, I'm sure, but you made it.
Yeah, it was not fun for me as a TCU fan. I guess my mom was an alumni there. I was actually a ball boy for the basketball team about 25 years ago, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, but also the
Is that the Billy Tubbs days?
No, it was actually Neil Doherty was the coach back in those days.
Okay.
He didn't last there too long, but yeah, I do remember being a ball boy. It was an unpaid position, of course, because I was like 11 years old. But anyway,
that's cool.
The stadium is also very nice. I heard, Jeremiah Donati mention, something about the stadium renovations to Williams-Brice coming up here and how he's excited to be involved with that. I will say, if you're ever in Fort Worth, definitely check out Amon Carter Stadium. It is leaps and bounds better than what it was, when I was a kid growing up there. And that's all I have. So just excited.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, have a good one. And again, welcome to Columbia. Glad you're here. Don't be a stranger. Look, as we said earlier, I really don't want to dwell too much on one so-called negative phone call, but there's a lot to like about this hire. And I wouldn't say that the sports at TCU flounder. Again, I think that phone call kind of sums it up. And you and I mentioned that earlier, Elijah. I mean, you fight for a lot of things, attention, dollars, fans. It's a small school. That's why I said, even Baylor, TCU has really elevated itself from the old days of the now long defunct Southwest Conference.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. Man, it's a good league. But Texas and Texas A&M and Texas Tech. I don't know right off the top of my head. I'd say all of them have, like, at any one time, like 5 times as many students.
They're massive schools.
I don't even know how big TCU is, but, Texas and Texas A&M both have around 50,000 students. And I imagine that Tech is pretty close to that. I don't know for sure, but, it's just the old it's bigger in Texas, everything's bigger in Texas thing is sometimes a thing because it's true.
They had to come from somewhere.
TCU and SMU are a lot more similar to one another in terms of smaller and private, even if you're in a big city. I like what this provides. And again, this is as much about, and it should be, the business of sport. To Ernest's point, that's what Eric Hyman had to come in and do. Eric Hyman ruffled a lot of, no pun intended, ruffled a lot of feathers. But it had to be done. That's when I came up with, and I'll say it again because we've thank God long since passed these days. But I said back then to fans who were mad, you can't have SEC success at Conference USA prices. It's impossible. I don't care how hard you try. You can't do it. And TCU found a way to begin to elevate their program in a similar vein. But Eric Hyman had to come in and say, you want to compete? And guess what they started doing? They started competing.
Once you start spending that money, it is amazing the correlation between spending money and getting into the relevant conversation of elevating your athletics.
Eric Hyman didn't hire Steve Spurrier, but he helped elevate the program. Eric Hyman didn't hire Ray Tanner, but he helped Ray Tanner get that baseball stadium built. He did hire Don Staley. He did hire Frank Martin. And he did start raising a lot of money and keeping the athletic department in the black. Where am I going to? Wooly is up next. Hey, Wooly, good afternoon.
Hey, first and foremost, Elijah and Jay, I love the show.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to say that this feller has the resume to take us to the next level. I love Coach Tanner, but let me tell you, having a lawyer in that position is going to make it a huge difference. Go Cox.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. And not just a lawyer who took his degree and worked in the largest sports agency firm at the time in the country and the most prominent. And so that's what he specialized in, and that's what allowed him to get a job at a good school and then elevate himself from within to be the AD and to make a hire of a coach who found a way at a school not to necessarily, well, you could say overachieve, but to find a way to navigate through the Big 12 at the time that included Oklahoma and Texas and Oklahoma State and Kansas State and Baylor and play for a national football championship. I mean, if you just take that as a microcosm moment, that might be enough for a lot of people. But when you do delve more deeply into the resume and into the experiences, as we had somebody tell us, and again, thank you to that listener, of the 6 national championships that Texas Christian has won, 4 of them came under the athletic leadership of Jeremiah Donati. That's a thing, y'all.
Those aren't Big 12 titles.
How much of one you want to make it in terms of a thing is up to you. But it is a pretty big thing. And that's just the sports part. But the sports part takes the business part because that's the world we live in. All right. I'll tell you what, I got one more pair of tickets for tonight's huge matchup at CLA. Duke, Carolina women's basketball, top 10er, ACC SEC Challenge. You want to go? Caller 4-803-404-6100. This is the Postgame Show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. But we'll start with some good news, and that's that the incident that was on 20 eastbound near exit 61 has been cleared. So traffic's moving much more smoothly through that area. Still have some active accidents on Trentham Road near Highway 16 and North Beltline Boulevard, Highway 602 near US 21 and Charleston Highway. And lastly, we still have one causing issues on Assembly Street near Calhoun Street.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Thursday. Welcome back in. Get into some more phone calls as we continue discussing the hiring of Jeremiah Donati as the new athletics director at University of South Carolina, announced a couple hours ago down at Williams-Brice, introduced rather nicely by Dr. Michael Amaritis, the president of the university. Full board approval came today just before the announcement, and he will officially begin his tenure next month. So we'll get into that for you. But there are some things going on around the Southeastern Conference. First, to borrow from Casablanca, I am shocked to learn that the University of Texas investigation into bottle throwing at the Georgia game,
it's a hell of a sentence right there,
did not uncover even one student that did anything. Quote from Chris Del Conte, the AD. Despite our best effort, we have not been able to identify the individuals at issue.
Best effort?
We will take action if new identifying information comes to light, end quote. But they did, hang on, let me see if I can get this. They did also say in their statement, quote, we take full accountability for the actions of our fans and reiterate our apology to the University of Georgia and the SEC. Couldn't find one? You think they really tried?
Nope.
I don't,
because you know what? The ESPN, the ABC film crew had more success identifying a fan that looked like Conway Twitty than they did. The University of Texas did.
The kid's hair was real, and it was spectacular.
Yeah, that was real.
Because they showed. Did you see that they found, somebody else found it? Like, oh, it's real. Like somebody found another picture of that kid and put it out there, and it made the rounds too. Look, I don't care too much about this. I just thought it was kind of funny that we tried real hard. We didn't. Our internal review didn't find even one person that we could identify.
I'll take gaslighting for 200, please.
A couple of things coming out of the University of Oklahoma. First off, yesterday, Brent Venables, well, I guess Brent Venables didn't say this, but the news was out that Oklahoma's sophomore quarterback, Jackson Arnold, will be transferring out of the university. And now we learn that Oklahoma wide receiver Nick Anderson, another sophomore, will also be entering the portal. He has, let's see, he's a big kid, 6'4", 219.
Hurt all year.
But he's been hurt this season. Yeah. He's been solid.
Oh, wasn't he like a 1,000-yard receiver last year?
I'm trying to see here, 798 yards.
Last season?
Okay.
So not 1,000 yards, but
close.
Not too far off.
Yeah, I'm not good with math either, but that's close.
Yeah, I'm not
and 10 touchdowns, man.
I do know that is a lot of touchdowns.
It's a lot of touchdowns for a receiver.
Yeah,
but
almost getting one a game in the regular season.
But Dylan Gabriel left. Why'd they let him leave? Because Jackson Arnold was going to be just
the long-term plan.
How'd that work out?
Huh? They may or may not have benched him halfway through the year.
SEC ACC Challenge sees the Southeastern Conference men's basketball teams go 14-2 against the ACC.
It's a public execution.
Wow.
I don't really know about much of a challenge.
Clemson beat Kentucky on night one, and last night the only other win, but it was a top 10 matchup. Nice win. Duke beat Auburn 84-78. And a lot of work to do for ACC schools. And really, most of these games, y'all, weren't even competitive in either night. Last night we had one game that was tight. Texas went to Raleigh and won by 4. And again, the Duke game was a 6-point win for Duke. Alabama beat North Carolina in Chapel Hill by 15. Florida beat Virginia in Gainesville by 18. Mississippi State beat Pitt in Starkville by 33.
Yeah, they were up like 57-25 at one point.
And Vandy went to Blacksburg and beat Tech by 16. I mean, South Carolina had a big one. Carolina won by 20. Whatever.
Yeah, Tennessee beat Syracuse by 26.
Carolina won by 22. Tennessee by 26.
Georgia beat the hell out of Notre Dame.
Oklahoma won by 15 over Georgia Tech. Ole Miss beat Louisville by 23. Yeah, Georgia beat Notre Dame by 21. I mean, there weren't LSU beat Florida State by 10. There weren't a lot of close games in this.
No, it was an ass-kicking up and down the floor.
So there you go. And finally, in the drive around, Georgia is very hopeful, according to what Kirby Smart has been saying, that Trevor Etienne should be back and ready to run for the Georgia Bulldogs in the Dome on Saturday afternoon as they take on Texas for the SEC championship. That's coming up in just a couple of days' time. Let's get back on the phones real quick, and Bill is up next. Hey, Bill, good afternoon.
Hey, Jay. 2 questions.
Okay.
You talked about going to 16 teams. Is that 8 teams that will play, and then you've got 4 teams that get a bye and 4 teams that get a double bye?
No, I wouldn't. I want everybody to start playing. What I want, Bill, is I want all these games to be at home until the championship. I love bowl games, but these things aren't bowl games anymore. They are neutral site playoff games. I want home games, and I would absolutely advocate for home games until a championship.
Okay, that's fine. Second question. American Athletic Conference, Tulane and Army. Army's sitting at 10-1. They still have one more game next week,
right?
With Navy,
right?
If they beat Tulane, so they're sitting at 11-1 and one more game, and God forbid Army beat Navy. Obviously, I'm an anchors away kind of guy.
I got you.
How do they get left out and Boise State get put in?
Sadly, Bill, the Army-Navy game will not count for Army when it comes to playoff consideration.
That I understand.
Yeah.
But is Boise State just that much better, or is it just what they've done in the past, and some people are thinking that Army is kind of a flash in the pan?
Yeah, well, the subjectivity part, I think, certainly is weighing in, and thanks for the phone call. Look, Boise has a stronger strength of schedule. Army's is not good. And in Army's one game against a really good opponent, Notre Dame, they was it 49-7 or
49-14 was the final.
Whereas Boise's one game against a really good team, they went to Oregon and lost by a score. Was it by 4 or something, Elijah? 7?
Oh, the Oregon
Boise
State 3. It was a field goal
3
in the final seconds.
And I'm not saying, Bill, that should be the end all be all. But Boise's ranked higher in their own poll, if you will. I guess we don't call that a poll. Well, we kind of do.
It's kind of a poll.
Kind of a poll. But in the CFP ranking, Boise's 10th. I mean, so they win, they're fine.
Yeah,
now they lose, they're out.
That, yeah.
But if they lose, is Vegas guaranteed to get in?
I don't know about guaranteed. If you do,
so maybe that's his question. Like if Boise were to lose, Vegas wins, and then Army wins, might Army have a chance? I don't think.
Army would be 11-1. UNLV would be 11-2. UNLV does have 2 wins over Power 4 opponents.
Where's Vegas ranked this week?
20.
And Army is
24.
Yeah, so
I don't think you're leapfrogging the Mountain West champion. I think that Mountain West championship game is for a spot in the cup.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, and I'm not predicting anything here, Tulane is a 5-point favorite in West Point.
Yeah, and Tulane getting drubbed by Memphis has kept them out.
Yeah,
that's any type of contention.
That doesn't help. Thanks for the phone call. That's the drive around the SEC. Speaking of phone calls, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. So we're going to play the Wild Card Showdown a day early for a chance for one of you to win one of our terrific craft beer passports. So I need two of you right now. We got all those championship games plus a couple of NFLers in there. 803-404-6100. Two of you to play the Wild Card Showdown next. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of this Thursday edition of the Postgame Show. Thanks to all of you. It's been a busy day as the Gamecocks announce a new leader for the department. His name is Jeremiah Donati. Our buddy Jack Veltri reporting that Jeremiah will officially begin on January 2nd. His contract runs through June 30th of 2031. He will start at $1.9 million per year and get a $100,000 bump every year of the contract. I imagine there are other performance-based bonuses built into that. So congratulations again. I think it's a fantastic hire for South Carolina. Now go do the work.
Yeah,
again, I think he and Dr. Amaritas won the press conference. Now you got to go. Now you got to go win the battle in the SEC. All right, we're going to do this pretty quick here, but let's cue the band and play the Wild Card Showdown for this weekend. I won't be here tomorrow, so Elijah has given me permission to play the contest today. Jim and James. All right, I like that. So one of you keeps the full name, and the other guy's got the nickname. I like it. Way to go, Jim. How are you?
Wonderful, and you?
I'm well, thank you, James. Same question. How you doing, man?
I'm wonderful.
All right, good.
Same as Jim.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well,
a lot of synchronicity here.
I love it. All right, let's see. Well, let's not have that on the contest. Otherwise, it doesn't get to be as fun. Texas and Georgia, SEC title. Atlanta, Texas, 2.5-point favorites. Jim, I'll start with you.
Give me Georgia.
Georgia and the points. James.
I'm going to have to go with Jim on that. I'm going to have to go with Georgia.
Georgia and the points. Takes me to Elijah Campbell.
I will go with Tejas. You got him once. I don't think you do it again, and they're going to annoy a lot of people.
Yeah, that's
by winning this bad boy in year one.
That's fair. Kirby pulls out the massive he's going to have like the oversized novelty underdog card. Give me Georgia plus the points in Atlanta. To Charlotte we go next. SMU, same spread, 2.5-point favorites over Clemson. James, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to have to go with Clemson on this. I feel like if you were to let Carolina play SMU, I feel like it'd be at least a 3 touchdowns.
I hear you. You might be right. All right, Jim, what do you got?
Unfortunately, give me the Tigers.
See, Elijah, this is why we don't put Carolina-Clemson games or any Clemson or Carolina games on this anymore, because nobody wants to pick Clemson if they don't want to do it. I'll take Clemson as well, plus the points. I think Clemson's going to win the football game. Elijah.
Yeah, I don't want to do it, but I have a really sneaky suspicion that in the first year of a 12-team playoff, the Clemson Tigers will backdoor their way into it.
That's what we're looking at, I think. Arizona State and Iowa State. This game's in Dallas, yes?
Dallas.
At Jerry World.
Salad.
Yeah. Elijah, I'll let you go first. Arizona State, 2-point favorites.
Over Iowa State? I love this Arizona State team, man. Give me Arizona State.
Yeah, I'm taking Arizona State as well to obviously win the game and cover the spread. Jim?
Iowa State.
Iowa State. Cyclone guy, Matt Campbell. All right, James.
I'm going to have to stick with y'all on this. Arizona State.
Arizona State.
Pretty highly of it.
All right, the Sun Devils. All right, Oregon and Penn State in Indianapolis. The Ducks by 3.5 to win the Big Ten. Elijah Campbell, you go first.
I want to say yes to Quack.
Oregon to get it done. Yeah, probably close. I mean, I can see Oregon winning by 4 even, and that would cover the spread. Give me the Oregon Ducks. James.
I think Oregon's finally going to fall off. Penn State.
Penn State plus the points. All right. They'll have a lot of fans there, that's for sure. Jim?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Ducks.
The Ducks to win the game. All right. Wild card time. James, you have got the NFL game tonight. This is a good one, man. Detroit, 3-point favorites at home over Green Bay.
Ooh, that's a tough one. We're waiting on Detroit to slip up. I'm going to have to take them. I'm going to have to take Detroit.
Detroit, yeah. Listen, I was asking Elijah, this might be the 2 best teams in the NFC. Philadelphia obviously wants something to say about that. But
what was that number again?
3.
Yeah, 3.
Detroit minus 3. Jim, your game is the American title game. Tulane, 5-point favorites at Army. It is a Army home game. Tulane minus 5.
Give me Tulane.
Tulane. Elijah Campbell, you have Boise hosting UNLV. Broncos minus 4.
Ooh, I think UNLV covers, Boise wins.
UNLV plus the 4. Yours truly has the battle of the NFC West. First place on the line, Arizona hosting Seattle. Cardinals minus 2.5. I'm going to take the Fightin' Genos to win on the road. Give me Seattle. And finally, real quick, guys, tiebreaker, passing yards for Carson Beck against Texas. I'll let James go first. Pass yards for Carson Beck.
256.
256. Jim.
175.
175. Elijah Campbell.
I'm going to go with 270.
270. I am going 245. Jim, James, thank you, boys. Y'all have a great night, great weekend. Enjoy all the football. We'll let you know on Monday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, guys, good stuff. And thanks to all of you. Busy day today. Congratulations to Jeremiah Donati. We'll see y'all tomorrow. It's been cold. You staying warm inside the house. Beat the seasons no matter what they are with AAA Heating and Air, the best at what they do across the Midlands. And if it's time for a brand new system, Roy and Dana Finley have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can log on to callAAAtoday.com and get a free estimate. You may say, well, hey, right now, I don't know if I can afford that. Yeah, well, here's the deal. 12 months, no payments or interest if you buy in 2024. Guaranteed financing. Plus, you get a $1,500 system buyback rebate. There's money in your pocket right there. And, of course, the 15-year parts and labor guarantee. They stand behind every single thing that they do. They've done work at my house. I love them. I know Bill Gunner feels the exact same way. Again, call AAAtoday.com to get that instant quote. Or you can call them up. Set up a time. 803-677-1500. Stay nice and warm all winter long with AAA Heating and Air.